Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Boho tea chest. Now obviously you can use it for more than just a simple tea chest, but that's how we're marketing it. You can obviously fit all sorts of gifts inside of this. So without further ado, let's take a look and see what we've got here and get right into the assembly. Now what I've done here is just kind of laid some things out because, as usual, I want to get the panels glued down while everything is nice and flat. It just makes things a lot easier. And while we do this, I'll go through and just discuss what each of these pieces are. Okay, so this piece here, the one with the fold, this is actually, this part of it here is actually going to be the hinge mechanism that keeps the top connected to the base. And you're going to want to find the panels that coordinate with this. And you'll notice that on this piece, there's a series of markers everywhere to help you with the positioning. This piece here, just make sure that you have it the right way because it's not perfectly symmetrical. It is a little bit wider at the top, and you want that at the top instead of like this, because that's not going to work. So let's just jump right in here and start getting our panels in place. And the actual assembly of this is not going to be all that difficult. So yeah, get going here. And we're using mostly, well, the patterns are graphic 45, and then we have this beautiful foil paper as well, and that is actually DCWV from the Boho style stack. This whole bundle is kind of just a Boho style. So we've got that glued down. Again, be sure to use the included markers on these elements to help you with the correct positioning of all of these elements. You'll see that you have markers on the top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. And that will just ensure that everything looks nice and precise and symmetrical. Okay, so there we go. And this is definitely one of those projects where you want to get out some of your beautiful pattern papers and incorporate those into your design. Okay, so just find the matching pieces as I have them laid out here, and let's get our panels glued down. So much easier to do this while everything is flat. That way you don't end up with any pieces that aren't completely flush with the main structure, and it's not going to harm anything by putting this down while everything is flat. If anything, will actually speed up the process. So definitely do that. Now for those of you that are not completely familiar with the term boho, boho, well, they have boho simply is a quick way of saying bohemian style, and there's styles out there that are called bohemian chic. I guess in other words, it's sort of, it was really adapted by well, hippies, and it's almost like you look at, if you Google boho style decor, it's almost like anything goes. A lot of patterns, a lot of vibrant colors, just kind of, like I said, anything goes. It's one of those, you know, if you see a living room that's done up in boho, it's just usually very colorful, a lot of patterns, and it would seem like, you know, if you're going to go wild with colors and patterns, you might as well go full on, completely wild with it, and it just somehow it just all comes together and it works beautifully. So it's almost like one of those things that you can't mess up. But anyway, so we wanted to kind of do something a little bit different with this bundle. Now obviously the main structure that we're working with here can be adapted for all sorts of things, depending on the type and style of paper that you use. So just because we're dressing it up in what, you know, is like a boho style doesn't mean that you have to. You can do it however you want. Now, by the way, this piece here, you'll notice that it's similar to this piece in shape, but it's kind of got a little notch cut out on the bottom left and right, and that's to help us with the positioning of this little latch slash flower that we're going to be incorporating into the design later on. So just make sure that you find the one that has the little cutout there and that it goes on this piece. That little cutout area is going to end up being flush with the bottom of this. So you want that to be nice and flush. Most of it's going to be covered up ultimately, but you definitely want to make sure to do that. Okay. And again, I'm using the little markers there to help me with the positioning of everything. Almost done with that. There we go. And we'll try to get all the little bits and pieces assembled so that once we have the main structure all together, it's just a matter of putting it all together and finishing it up. Okay, so that's done. And let's see, what else do we have to do here? We've got, this is going to be our lid. Okay, so we can do this as well. Okay, so you'll notice that on this piece here, there are also markers at the top here as well. And this one has some slits on it, so you just want to match that up with the existing slits. We also have markers on all four corners of these elements as well, so you can't go wrong. I think the only thing we don't have markers for are the little side elements, but that's just a matter of making sure that you get everything centered with an even border all the way around. And I'll show you how that all works here in a second. Let's just get these in place. Okay, we got a couple more for the top, and then a couple on the side. There we go, just like that. Beautiful. And you'll notice that as I'm working on these, I'm not spending an awful lot of time waiting for the glue to dry. It's because I'm using as little glue as possible. Okay, so don't cake this with too much glue. For one, you might get it wet and then warp it. Two, you're gonna be sitting around all day waiting for it to dry. It's like watching paint dry. It's not fun. So go easy on the glue. If you happen to get a little bit too much in any area, just wipe it off with your finger. Okay, so these little pieces here, you just want to get these centered with a nice even border all the way around. You can actually use the ends and the edges of this piece to make sure that you have it centered. You want those to all properly align. Okay, and then we've got one more. And then we're going to put together the little handle in just a second, which is pretty straightforward as well. Didn't actually do any inking on this because a lot of these pieces are very dark as it is. I'm not really sure any ink would even show up. Okay, so we've got all these pieces here. Now these two, they almost look like they're squares, but they're not. We're going to save those for later. Okay. In the meantime, we have these two pieces, and what we're going to do with this is we're actually going to glue these back to back. Now you'll notice that there's a series of little score marks here at the bottom. You want to fold those. We are not going to be applying glue to those, so do not put any glue on those. And what we want to do is apply glue to just this section here on one of them, on one half. So go ahead and do that. Try to get that glue out to the very edge of the piece. Again, nice and thin on the glue. Take the other half. I've got my texture side facing out. Line it up. You can actually press those tabs down. There's no glue on them, so they won't stick together, but it'll make it easier to press down. Okay, just like that. These tabs we're actually going to use to glue this piece to the actual lid. Okay, next we're going to take this gold piece, which I've actually also, I ran it through an embossing machine, and we're going to put one on one side and one on the other side like this. You want it nice and centered on there. Okay, so go ahead and throw your glue on the back of this, and we will also be gluing the tab portion to the other tab portion as well. I'm just going to do one at a time here. So I did not put any glue on these tabs, but I will in just a moment. I want to get this on first, make sure it's centered, just like that. And this is a strange material on the back. It's almost like a chipboard on the back of this foil. It's almost like a chipboard foil. I ran it through the embossing machine as well. And then we can go ahead and put a little bit of glue on just this overlay part of the tab and press that down onto the actual, in my case, the blue tab, but we do not have any glue on this part, okay? All right, so again, I'm going to peel this back, throw a little bit on the overlay, add some cat hair, press that down onto the blue part of the tab like that. I would definitely fold it so it just kind of sticks out like that, and that looks good. And we will repeat the same process on the other side. Let's get our glue on this entire surface. Just like that. And get that nice and centered on this piece. I'm just going to flatten that out so I can press down. Okay, that looks good. And then, as I mentioned, you can just take and throw a little bit of glue on these little tabs to glue them to the main tab. And just press that down. Okay, so this is our cute little handle, just like that. And we can put that off to the side. We'll be using that at a later stage here. Now, next thing is just the little flower that goes, I guess it acts as the latch. We're going to glue the gold element onto the blue element, just like we did with the latch part here. Okay. And just get that nice and centered. Should have an even border going all the way around. And press that down. And then we have this little circle here that you can either glue down flat, or if you want to add a little bit of dimension to it, just take a little foam square, pop it right on the back, peel it off, and pop that right in the center. There is actually a set of little markers there to help you with the centering of this piece. And apparently, I didn't do it very well. There we go. Okay. All right, so that part's done. We can put that out to the side. And at this point, you can start constructing. I'm going to start with the base, actually. And this is part of the lid. Okay, so I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to find a piece that looks like this. Actually, two pieces that look like this. Now remember, the actual design itself is a little bit wider on top. Okay, so you can see here, this is the top, this is the bottom. It's a little bit skinnier at the bottom. Okay, and what we're gonna do, these are the sides. What we're gonna do is we're gonna actually glue this down onto the surface like this, and we're actually gonna glue the tabs to the outside because it does make it easier. Those are gonna be covered up with some panels here in just a moment once we actually get it assembled. But what I want you to do is put a little bit of glue on just one of these tabs, just one, so that we can get it properly anchored, okay? And it doesn't matter which way you do it. This piece is, actually it does matter, I'm sorry. Take a look, you'll see that on one side, the tab is a little bit thicker. On the other side, it's skinnier. You want the skinnier part on top, the thicker part of the tab on the bottom. Okay, so take that tab and just glue it right to the face of this part here. You want these two areas here where the tab meets the other tab. There's a point right there to match up with the point on this one as well, okay? So just press and hold that down like so. And then we're naturally going to just kind of curve this around, and it should meet perfectly right up at the top. Okay, so I'm going to peel back a couple tabs here. I'll do 2 tabs now just to get more of this anchored. And as you go, I'm going to hold it like this. Grab that tab and press it down. You're going to kind of push it up against the surface of this edge as far as it'll go. And I got one finger down here pushing up, another finger pushing down, while I'm pushing down up against this edge here, just to make sure that this piece is nice and flush along the very edge here. So now that I've got 3 of them, I'm going to do 3 at a time here. Go very easy on the glue here. Okay, and now technically what you could do, if it's easier for you, you can tuck those tabs under like that, and then just push. I'm pushing towards this piece from the outside with my hand, and then I'm pushing down on the tabs, pushing as far as it'll go so that it hugs that curve. And I'm pushing down with my finger here to make contact. And there you can see how nice that looks. I'll peel back the remaining tabs here. I'm gonna just do all 5. It shouldn't be difficult. Okay, you can put this down on your surface, tuck those tabs under, slide them under, push as far as it'll go. This piece right here that I'm tapping right now will stop it. And use this finger to push down on that area to get that tab to stick. Okay, and there you go. So that's roughly what it should look like. Okay, and that looks perfect, actually. Did a really good job there. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're going to take this piece, and again, make sure that the thicker tab is at the bottom. And actually there's a little letter B on this tab to indicate that it's the bottom. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna anchor it with one tab here. So I'm gonna put glue on just one tab. Make sure the B is there. Okay, and just get that connected right at the bottom there. And press that down and hold for just a moment. Just want to get that anchored. Okay, now that we have the first one anchored, you can pull back a handful of the tabs here. I'm just going to do like 3 of them, nice and thin on the glue. Okay, and you can totally do it this way. You tuck the tabs under, and again, I'm pushing in from the outside, and I'm pushing down with my finger on the inside to get those tabs to stick. And as long as you're pushing it as far as it'll go, you'll have it in the right spot, okay? Technically, if you want, you could do it this way. You could just do a couple tabs here and then push it over and do it like this, looking at it from the top, but I don't think that's the easy way to do it. You could do it like this if you want. I might as well use your surface. You're less likely to warp or bend the paper that way. Okay, so let me show you again. And I think it's safe to say we can do the remaining 5 tabs here. So I'll just put a tiny little bit of glue on there. This is just structural, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Tuck those in and under. You can see how they're sliding underneath. Okay, and I'm going to push up against that wall as far as it'll go, and then I'm using my pointer finger down here to press down on those tabs. Make sure you're keeping that pushed up against the side as far as you can. Well, I mean, you don't want to be rough with it, but make sure that, you know, that it is as far as it'll go. Okay, cool. So we got 2 sides assembled. Now I'm going to take this other wall and connect it here as well. Just make sure that the letter B is on the same side as the other letter B's. And just like we did before, I'm going to start with just one tab and get it anchored. Okay, again, try to match up those points as accurately as you can on that first tab. Should be completely up against the side of this piece here. And then take a look, because when you bring this tab down, these tabs should be on the same plane. If they're off a tiny little bit, it's not the end of the world, but ultimately you'll have them all lined up properly. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. All right, so I'm going to do the next 3 here, and again, tuck them under. I'm just going to tuck them under like this. You can see I'm tucking them under. I'm pushing this up against this piece here as far as it'll go, and then I'm using my finger to press down. This thing's kind of in the way, but you can make do. And that'll get the next 3 tabs glued into place, and I'll show you what that looks like. You can see they're all there up against the edge of this as far as it'll go. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more here. We'll do 3. And again, if you're more comfortable, you can do it this way. where you take that tab and press down. I would put a finger back there just to make sure that you're pressing it down and getting it to stick. So that is a way to do it. But I think this way is going to be more accurate. So I'll do the remaining 4. Just a tiny little bit of glue on each of the tabs. And again, tucking them under as far as it'll go. And then using this finger to press down. Okay, and pushing this in up against this piece here that I have my finger on. And I'm pressing down to help those two pieces join. There we go. Okay, you can see how nice that looks. And that just leaves one more side. I'm going to start at the bottom again. Just make sure that these two sections are nice and lined up. You can kind of hold these two tabs together now. And then this will just pop right on there. And you know that you have it nice and accurate. Okay. There we go. I'm going to do 2 more. Like that. There we go. And now I'll do 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And like I said, I just tuck those under. I'm going to tuck them underneath and I'm pushing here while I'm pressing down from the inside. So again, more than one way to do it, whatever you feel more comfortable with. I just know that using this method where I have the table, it's going to be more accurate because I'm pushing up against this piece in here as far as it'll go, ensuring that it's really hugging that natural curve there. So I've got a handful left here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you can see here, I'm going to tuck those under. And maybe from this angle you can kind of see how there's a gap there, but I'm going to take this and push it. Once it's flat on my surface, I'm going to push it up against the piece that's actually making contact with the table, and then I'm pressing down with my thumb along that very edge to get that to stick nicely. Okay, let's take a look. Perfect. Okay, so there you have it. All right, so again, remember this is the bottom, so we need to actually put the bottom on. Okay, and we've got 2 pieces here that look very similar. One has a little L cut into it. That indicates liner. That's actually going to go on the inside, and this is going to go on the outside. So we're going to close this up like so, and I'm going to do that by starting with just 1 tab. So let's get some glue on just one of these tabs. Okay, and I'm going to go a little bit heavier here at the bottom. So I'm going to take this glue and pull it out to the very edge. Okay, and then we'll take it, line it up, get it out to the very, very edge. Make sure it's nice and centered, like so. And you can take this actually and let it flip down and press down on the tab while it's on your surface. There we go. And now it's just a matter of closing it up. Take a look at your seam here, make sure everything looks nice and crisp. And now we're going to flare these tabs up. I'm going to apply glue to the remaining 3 tabs. I'm going to go a little bit heavier here because I've got a little bit of a distance to go, and I don't want this glue to start drying on me prematurely. So we'll just do that, like so. And I'm going to take that glue, spread it out to the very edge. You'll notice that by the time we get back to this one here, you're going to notice that that glue is not as wet. It is starting to kind of set. Okay, and that's okay. Flip these tabs up a little bit, and we're going to close the lid down. You want to focus on getting it lined up with this edge, and the other 2, make sure you get it nice and centered. Okay, and the other 2 sides should just kind of fall into place. Run your finger or your thumb right along the very edge on all 3 sides here. And then we can flip it over and press down on the rest of the tabs on the 3 sides that we just glued down. Okay, let's take a look at our seams. It looks pretty good. I had one little area that needed a little extra love, but you can always clean that up if necessary. That seam looks great. That one was already done. That looks perfect. Wonderful. Okay, so our box is in good shape. If by chance you have any gaps here, sometimes I like when I get those gaps because I can actually show you how to fix them. Grab a scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue on that scrap, just on the corner, and stick it in there and just paint a little extra glue on it and hold it in place while it sets. Okay. All right, so next, a couple things we can do at this point. One is we can put the front of it on. The back we're not going to put on just yet, but we can definitely do the front. And this is our little front piece here. You can decide which side is your front. In my case, I don't think it really matters. I did a pretty good job of assembling it on both sides. You know, actually, one other thing we can do too before we do that, let's put the little lip on here first. Okay, so we've got this little piece here, and what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on this guy here. Go a little, like 10% more than you normally would, so we can run that glue out to the edge, like so. And then we're going to take just one part of this, pick a side, it's going to be the long side, and glue that down nice and flush, nice and centered. Okay. And press that into place. And that's going to give us a nice little finished looking lip for this project. Pretend like you're making the edge of a pie crust and just run your fingers along the perimeter like that. And we can flare this out, get it out of the way for a moment. Now, when we go to close this up, you may actually need to nudge these in just a tiny little bit, because I can see right here, there's a little bit of tension there, and I may need to just push it in a bit, and that's okay. I mean, it is paper. Okay, let's get our glue on the 3 remaining tabs. Again, I'm going a little bit heavier here because we've got some distance here to cover. And then I'm going to take and spread that glue out to the very edge of the tab, like so. Make sure you got coverage. And I can already tell this glue is drying. So I'll add a little bit more there. It's kind of warped right there too, but that's okay, we'll fix that. And bring that down, line it up on this side first. Make sure you get it nice and centered. Okay. And then as you can see here, I need to really nudge this in. Just give it a little push and press down. Just get that nice and aligned. There we go. I'm probably gonna have to do some cleanup on this one, which is okay. Because this glue is setting pretty quick. There we go. It's a nice little lip. And maybe I won't have to do any cleanup. Well, what do you know? Beautiful. All right, cool beans. All right, so next, you know what we can do? This piece here with the little L on it, go ahead and throw a little bit of glue inside around the perimeter, and then a little bit on the inside. Take this piece and just pop it in there, let it drop, and press that down. It's going to make the bottom nice and sturdy for us and cover up those tabs so everything looks nice and polished. There we go. And yeah, it's looking sharp. All right, cool beans. See how many times I say cool beans during this video. All right, so now we can put this panel on that has panels on it already. We'll get that glued down. This is actually going to be the front. Okay, so what I'd suggest doing here is applying glue to this surface. Okay, and I'm gonna go a little bit heavier because I am gonna be taking my finger and spreading this out to the perimeter. Okay, so don't be afraid to go a little bit heavier with the glue here. I'll just throw a little bit there and then take that glue, brush it out to the very edge on all the sides. Perfect. And then we'll take this guy and pop him right on there. Should fit perfectly. Check out the edges and the sides. And it should be flush with the bottom as well. Make sure you don't have any excess glue on your fingers so you don't blemish the project. and then continue pressing down all the way around, top, sides, and bottom. There we go. Beautiful. Awesome. Yep, and that looks spot on, sitting nice and flat. Very happy with that. Okay. Now, one other thing too that we can do at this point is we can glue the sides on. Okay. So the sides, as you can see here, it's not going to work. You don't want to put it on like this. You want to rotate it a little bit so that you have an even border going all the way around. Okay. And we're just going to actually apply glue to this piece instead of putting it on the structure. Okay. And what we also want to make sure is, and we can always clean this up if necessary, but pop that right in the center so you have an even border, top, bottom, left, and right. And then press that down and hold. Should be nice and flush throughout on all sides. Okay, and hold that down. Give that a few moments to set before you let go. You really want to be patient with this section because, well, we are taking a flat piece of paper, and that paper has learned all its life since it was printed to be flat. And now we're trying to curve it a little bit, so there's going to naturally be a little bit of resistance, and it's going to want to kind of come off, especially at the top and bottom. So be patient while that all sets. Okay, take a look at the bottom, make sure that's looking nice and flush. The top looks flush, sides look flush, perfect. Okay, we can move on to the other side. Again, not this way, but this way. Make sure you have an even border all the way around. Now, if it helps you, you can also take it and just kind of loosen up the fibers a little bit and give it a little bit of a curve. So maybe just grab it like this and just bounce it down up and down a little bit. And you can see how it's no longer sitting flat. That may help a little bit. Ultimately, I think it's just going to be a matter of being patient and just gluing it down and holding it until we're completely sure that it's not going to move on us. Okay. Even if it does, if you recall that little painting technique that I showed you, where you can grab a scrap piece of paper and simply just tuck a little bit of glue into whatever area you need the glue, you can absolutely do that. Okay, so again, focus on making sure that I missed the mark by just a tad. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo that. I think it's because it's getting hot in here. As much as we try to stay on the cutting edge of technology, we're still using, I don't have LED studio lights. We're using very powerful incandescent lights, putting out about 750 watts per light. There's a total of 3 of them. The air conditioner is off because it's very loud, and it's about 95 degrees outside. So after about an hour in here without the AC on, it starts to, I should just get a thermometer in here. Well, actually there's one on the AC unit. I'll take a look and see what the reading is. You kind of start to malfunction a little bit. So hopefully you guys are, and I have to leave the AC off because I know that audio is very important to your entire experience, obviously, and I want you to have the best experience possible. So the last thing you want is to hear an air conditioner blaring in the background. So I'm willing to take one for the team. Okay, so our little box is looking great. Now we can actually take and put this panel on the back just to get it ready for the top part. So just like we did with the front, I'm gonna pop some glue on this guy. Okay, and we do want to try to get this glue out to the very edges here, so I'm going a little bit heavier so I can take and spread that glue out to the perimeter. Throw a little bit up there as well. Okay. And just take that and brush that all the way to the edge. There we go. And just make sure to clean your finger off before you pick up the actual panel here. Oops. Okay, and as I mentioned here, just want to get this right on there, nice and flush with the bottom. That's kind of my first focal point there, and then work your way along the edges here. Everything should line up perfectly. I'm going to fold this back so I can just press here as well, and just keep applying pressure along the edges while that glue sets. I want everything to look nice and crisp and clean and flush, and so far so good. That looks great. Okay, wonderful. And as I mentioned, this part, this is the hinge. That is where we're going to put our little lid once we're finished constructing it. Okay, and that's going to be our front. Everything is coming together nicely so far. All right, great. So let's put the lid together. Okay, so this is actually going to be a little bit easier because we have this section here. And just like we did before, we're going to glue this, we're going to glue the tabs to the face of this piece here. Okay, so it's going to go on like this. This round part is where we're going to glue the teeth. Now this little tab here is going to be key. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on this tab, like that. And then this edge right here is where we need to connect that to. So we're going to make sure that that is nice and lined up. Whoops, pardon me there. Line that up and press that down into place. It should match up perfectly with that little edge there. And we'll take a look at it from the inside just to make sure it's nice and flush and lined up. The idea here is that when we bring this together, it creates these two angles here for these tabs, they line up. Okay, so that looks great. And sort of like we did before, I'm going to actually use the surface to glue that in place so you can see how nice that's going to fit. Okay, so I'm going to take and flatten these tabs out, and we'll just do a handful at a time. I'm just going to do maybe 3 or 4. You can definitely see this a lot better because there's not as much in the way obstructing our view. Okay, so you see the glue on the tabs there. I'm going to tuck those under, and I'm going to push from the outside while I use my finger here to push down. Okay, so just push that as far as it'll go up against this piece, and then press down with your finger inside to get those tabs glued into place. Okay, so bring down a few more tabs here. And just a little bit of glue is all you need. You don't need to overdo it. Okay, I'm going to flip those tabs down underneath. And again, pushing from the outside towards this piece here while I press down from the inside to get those tabs to stick nicely. And there you go. Okay, so looking sharp. All right, now take and finish this up with the remaining 5 tabs here. 4, 5. And we're tucking those under, up against this surface, or this piece here. Get it as far as it'll go, and press down. And there we go, nice and round, perfect. Okay, so that just leaves this little guy. It's the same exact piece that we started off with before. Okay, we just need to glue that down into place. Just kind of hit that with my finger a little bit, thin that glue out, and press it into place. Okay, there we go. Wonderful. And that just leaves this piece here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to anchor it first with this tab here. So flip that out. We're going to put glue on the inside. Okay, and then I'm going to connect that, this piece here, like so. Make sure that it's all the way up against this surface here. And these tabs should match up. Again, when I go to close this, they should create a perfect little platform for us there. Okay, so just like we did before, we're going to grab and apply some glue to maybe just like 5 of the tabs, like so. Okay, I'm going to tuck those over and under. And I can take and push this whole thing up against this piece. And then as I do that, I'm pressing down with my finger on the inside. Just want to make sure that you're getting that as far as it'll go. There we go, just like that. Okay, so let's swing these open. And we'll put some glue on the next 5. Flip those over. Okay, you can see them there. They're going underneath. Oops, I gotta get all these tabs down. Pushing up against this piece that I have my pointer finger on, and I'm pressing down to get those tabs to stick nicely. Okay. There we go. And that just leaves a handful more here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more tabs. And you could technically, if you wanted to, you could do it like this, where you just kind of do one at a time from the top. That's fine too. I just think that this is actually easier and more accurate. So I'm tucking those tabs under, pushing them up against this surface here, and pressing down. I can try to show you here like that. I'm pushing down there, and I'm pushing this whole surface up against this piece right here so that it's nice and snug up against this piece. Okay, so you can see how nice that looks. And then finally, we have this little guy. I'm gonna throw a little bit of glue right on this tab so we can close it up. And just press that up against this piece here, and that should match up nicely as well. And it does. Wonderful. Okay, and as you can see here, when we bring all these tabs down, we're gonna actually put a piece on this to put it, kind of join it all together, okay? Okay, so now that we have the majority of the lid done here, we need to close this up so that we have a nice little lip on here. And just like we did with the base of the box, or the box itself, we're going to start by connecting this and anchoring it just to one of these longer tabs here. Okay, I'm going to take that glue, spread it out all the way to the very edge. All right, and then we'll take this and pop it right on there. It's kind of wobbly. Get it nice and centered. Nice and flush right out to the very edge here. Make sure it's centered again. There we go. Give it a little nudge, whichever direction you need to, and then press it down onto that tab. Make sure it's nice and flush here at the very, very edge. There we go, perfect. And then you can take it, flip it out of the way temporarily. And we're going to apply glue to the remaining 3 tabs. I'm going a little bit heavier here because I am going to spread this glue out. And also, I need a little extra time to do this work before it starts to dry. So I am going a little bit heavier. And again, spread that glue out all the way to the very edge of the tab, like so. And there we go. That should work, I should say. That's starting to feel a little tacky, so I might have some problems on that side, but focus on getting it aligned on the other side, the side opposite of the side that is already hinged. Make sure you get it nice and centered. And then these 2 sides should just sort of fall into place. I'll get this side as well. And now it's just a matter of going around and pressing down on this piece against the tabs. And there we go. Maybe do another go around here just to make sure that everything is making good contact, and it is. Perfect. Okay, so that just makes it nice and sturdy and makes it look nice as well. I'm going to take a look at my little seams here, make sure everything is as flush as possible. And that looks great. Okay, so at this point, it really doesn't matter which side is the front or back. It's a symmetrical piece, so I'm not overly concerned about it. In which case, at this point, we need to figure out which side we're going to put this on. Again, doesn't really matter. It can go on this side, or it can go on this side. I'm just taking a look and seeing which side looks better as far as my assembly goes, and I think both sides are pretty much the same, so it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna pop it on this side here. So just like we did with the other panels, I'm gonna apply glue around the perimeter here. I'm going a little bit heavier because I am gonna spread that glue out. Okay, a little bit in the center, maybe a little more there. And I'm gonna take this glue, pull it out all the way to the very edge of the perimeter, like so. Clean your finger off, make sure you don't have a ton of glue on your hand or your fingers. And we'll pop that right on there. Should fit perfectly. Check your alignment on the left and right. I'm kind of using my fingers here to make sure that everything is sitting nice and flush. And then work your fingers around the perimeter. Take a look and make sure everything is looking good, and that is perfect. Okay, wonderful. Now before we anchor this to the other part of the box, we need to install the little handle, okay, which we'll do here in just a second. And just checking my seams here, making sure everything looks good, and it does. Okay, so this guy here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these little tabs now, we're gonna slide them through these little slits. Okay, just slide them right through. They should poke right through nicely. Like that. Bring them down as far as you can go. Just like that, okay? And then you can see from the inside here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put glue on the side here. We're gonna take that and push it up against the inside like this, okay? So I'm just gonna press and hold that. This is a couple layers thick, and my top layer is actually made of foil. So I'm gonna need to be a little extra patient while that dries. As you can see, it might be a good time to actually use, in my case, you may not need to, but I'm gonna fire up the hot glue gun because that's gonna speed things up for me. This thing's pretty secure as it is, but obviously we still wanna anchor it. Okay, so while I'm holding that down, I'm just using the Scotch tacky glue on that side. I'm going to spread these apart. You can see we're just going to put glue on the underside of all of these and push them against the surface on the inside. Okay, so as you can see, I'm going to put glue here and here underneath and press it down up against the surface to hold it. Pretty self-explanatory, I think. Okay, let me get my hot glue fired up here just to speed things up. Throw a little bit of hot glue right there and just put it on that surface, and I'm pressing it up against the inside. And yep, hot glue, as much as we don't have the best relationship, you definitely speed things up. Okay, and you can see there the side with the standard glue kind of peeled off, and that again is mostly because of the material that I'm trying to glue. It's not very porous, so it can take a while for it to set. So I'm just going to throw a little hot glue on that, and that might actually even be stronger. Okay, but there is the beautiful little handle. Okay, this little guy here is actually going to go like this. We're going to actually pop dot that. I'm not doing that just yet, because now what we need to do, we have the lid, obviously, and we need to glue this piece to the back, and that should fit on there perfectly as well. Okay, so two ways of doing this. I'm just going to put glue on this surface. I think that's easier. You could technically put it on the hinge mechanism there if you want. I don't think it really makes a difference. I just like this because it's kind of free floating. I think I could be a little more accurate with the placement of the glue on that. Okay, and now I'm going to take this. I'm actually going to lay this down flat. Take this and pop it right on there. Okay, and also just make sure that it's nice and snug up against this, the bottom part of the box. And as you can see here, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to give this a little bit of a nudge and press and hold that down. There we go. I can use the surface of my table to kind of help me keep this in place. And that looks wonderful. Okay, so there that is. And I'm not going to open it just yet. I want to make sure that everything dries. Very cool looking box. Okay. All right, so now let's see, how do we do this? Okay. Yeah, so this is going to go on here like so. Now you can see the idea here is to place this so that half of it is on this surface and the other half is on this surface. Okay, and then we're going to use, oh, actually, you know what? There's a little marker here as well. Okay, so that's a good thing. We're going to use that marker. And I am going to put glue on just the top half of this. So don't go below the, just kind of create a fictional center point on there. Okay, and use that little marker to help you with the positioning. The marker is just right above, right here, just above where that blue area is. Okay, I think I did a good job with that. Press that down. Okay, it kind of came off a little bit, that's okay. It's because I didn't let it dry completely. And then we have these handy little Velcro tabs, or Velcro dots. And I'm just going to cut one of them off. Scissors here. This is going to help us just kind of keep it in place. So these come in a package of like 200. We've been using them for a variety of things. Okay, so we'll peel the backing off of one of them. I'm going to make sure that this is nice and centered on there. Okay, and what we'll do, I'm going to take and put the Velcro on the bottom half of the little latch mechanism thingy. I'll peel this off. I'm going to put it on the other half of the Velcro so you can see it there. And then when we close it, I can take it and press it up against the surface. Make sure it's nice and centered. Press that up against this surface. Give that a second, and then literally now you can open it up and you can close it by just pressing it up against the Velcro. But that's it. So this guy is all done, and you can see how wonderful the box is. So perfect for a gift. It's a pretty good sized box, so you don't just, you know, you can put all sorts of things in here. It doesn't have to just be tea. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've got some little rhinestones here, and I'm gonna put those in little various places here just to, you know, kind of jazz it up a little bit. So take a look at the final photo so you can see where we placed those. And that's about it. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please take a moment and visit our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. While you're there, ring that bell so that you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free, or even when we go live. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I would love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL that you see here at the bottom of your screen. So hope you guys enjoyed it. I did, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos, and also please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section, where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.